Hi guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kyra and today I'm going to be ranking all 6 of my Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes. If you're new here, a very special welcome to you. I hope you will consider subscribing before you leave. If you like what you see today, it's free, it's easy, and it helps you find my videos Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday when I upload. And allegedly, if you ring that notification bell to all, YouTube will let you know when that happens. So this fantastic idea actually came from one of you guys. This was a subscriber request that I was very happy to oblige. If you guys want to see any other ranking videos of any type, you can always leave those down in the comments below, because I love working with your guys' suggestions to make this channel about both of us. So let's get started. So I first want to say that I did go ahead and purchase the bronze palette from Natasha Denona, and it's on its way to me. It should be here today actually, but that palette of course will not be in today's ranking because I haven't worked with it for long enough and at all at this point. So that being said, coming in at number 6, this palette is only in this position as far as I'm concerned because it's the least used so far in my Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette collection. Wow. And that is the mini Glam. I really wanted this for quite some time. I'm super happy that I have it, but I've also accumulated a lot of other palettes in the same sort of time span, so this one has sort of fallen by the wayside. The one favorite thing about this palette for me is this shade right here, which is called Harlow. It's this sort of yellow ochre shade. It reminds me a lot of MAC Paint Pot in yellow ochre, but it's her cream to powder. So this is actually a cream formula and then it sets into a powder formula after the fact, and I love this because it's almost like having an eyeshadow base built in to this palette. But also this is extremely easy to apply and use on the eyes. I apply this all over the lid with my finger, take a buffing brush or a blending brush of some sort and sort of buff it up into the crease and then continue on with my looks that way. I think this very last shade in the palette, which is called Faye, is so pretty. I just really wanted this. I wanted a real strictly neutral mini palette from Natasha Denona, and there were other choices of course, but I really liked this one. I thought that this was more my color story than anything else. You have the beautiful bronze, you have this sort of pewtery brown. It's just beautiful. So I really love this. If I do this video sometime next year, I would have to venture to guess this would move way up in the rankings. Next, coming in at number 5 is my first and so far only of the midi size palettes. Like I said, I have bronze on the way to me, but this is one of her $65 palettes, and I do really love this palette, don't get me wrong, but I think this is just a little bit more of a specific color story. For me, it is, but it isn't a standalone palette. I would prefer to mix this palette with maybe some soft neutrals or things like that. But it's a beautiful palette. I absolutely love. There are 2 of the cream to powder shadows in here, which I love. They work beautifully as a liner for the eyes, as well as, like I said, it works beautifully as a base, and they blend out just as beautifully as her matte shadows do, but they almost have a little more tenacity. They're a little bit longer lasting. They really cling to the skin on the eyes, and it just works beautiful. I love this silver shade in here, and then of course you have these 2 beautiful duochromes. So, you know, I mean, with only 6 palettes in the ranking here, you can be assured I love with my whole heart all of these palettes, but this one came in at number 5. Coming in at number 4 is actually the palette that I have on my eyes today, and that is the Lila palette. I love this palette. This was my first full-size eyeshadow palette from Natasha Denona. I believe I got the mini star palette before I got this one, if I remember correctly. But this is definitely my most used of my bigger palettes from Natasha Denona. I really love these colors. Today I'm wearing these two shades and these two shades, and then this gold just a little bit on the inner corner. You've got this duochrome and this duochrome. They're just really beautiful. You've definitely got some different formulas in here. This one right here is kind of more of like a topper shade, and it is really beautiful to tap over any of the shades in this palette just to sort of lighten them up a little bit. Works as an inner corner highlight, the whole thing. But I just really feel like this has a nice mixture of colors in here. It's not all yellow or all green or anything like that. It just has a nice mixture. I think this works for any time of year. It's fun for spring. It's been beautiful for summer so far. Fall looks, winter looks. There's nothing that this palette can't do for you in terms of the color story. So I do really love this palette, and I used it today in a Get Ready With Me that you would have already seen using a full face of Nothing New. Coming in at number 3, I didn't think that this is what was going to happen, but alas, it did, is my Natasha Denona, it's my gold palette. Okay, that's easier to say. I do love this palette, but there's some things that still befuddle me a little bit. Probably because I haven't used it as much as I would like to get to know this palette. But I do love the colors in here so much. Beautiful textures. Again, you have another cream to powder in here, or cream to matte, or whatever she calls them. This shade right here is one of my favorite bronze shades in my collection. 'Tis called Varys, like the eunuch from Game of Thrones, if you remember. But there's Varys right there. I love that as a one shadow look. I just need to play with this more, and I suppose summer now is the time for that, so maybe I will include this in a Get Ready With Me this month. That would be awesome. And then you may have guessed, if you've been around for a while, the last two palettes are her mini palettes. So coming in at number 2, and this was a really hard pick if I'm being honest. One has just been an old trusty for me. It's one that I grab all the time, especially if I just need to put on a look and I don't want to think too hard about it. And then the other one was literally made for me. It should be called the Mini Kyra palette. It's not, but coming in at number 2 is the Mini Star palette. I'm super close to hitting pan on all of the shades in this palette. Maybe not quite the dark brown yet, but the other 4 shades. This is the one I grab for all the time for easy looks. I love this blue brown pigment in here. I love this shade. This shade I'll probably hit pan on first. This sort of olivey, goldy, a little bit flaky and glittery shade is beautiful, especially for a night out or for fall or whatever you want. You just would be really surprised how many looks you could get out of here, and a lot of the versatility that's in here. So I mean, if I had to recommend a mini palette to anybody or everybody from the entire line from Natasha Denona, I would probably recommend this one. So can we guess what came in at number 1? Mini Retro palette, or as I like to call it, the Mini Kyra palette. You can see I've already got some dips working in here. I love all of the shades in this palette. This is totally my jam. I love pink and green together. I know some people call these more like silvery and gray, but there's definitely a greenish tone in here. Looking into the viewfinder now, I can see that this is very true to color. If you're purchasing this palette, this is what you're going to get in terms of the colors, what they look like in real life. And to me, those are green, and I love pink and green together. It's one of my favorite color combinations. I don't know what it is about that. I used to be a real pink freak, but I've kind of outgrown that into my mid to late 30s. But I still love it combined with green. I still like the way it looks on my eyes. And again, this is one of those palettes where I really think you would be surprised at the versatility. Galaxia is like a duochrome topper. I don't know if it'll show any, oh yeah. It's got pink and green, and it's almost like what the inside of an opal looks like. And if you've been here for a little while, you might know that I'm obsessed with opals. I think they're magical stones in terms of what they look like. But this is beautiful. It doesn't have any cream to matte powders in here, but that's one of the fun things about these little minis, is that you can kind of pick and choose. Like this one right here has a chroma crystal formula in it, but I don't believe, yeah, and then Galaxia is a chroma crystal in this one, and then there's no chroma crystals in the mini Glam. So like I'm saying, you can kind of pick and choose what you like, or you can combine these. They're super small and compact and easy to use, very sturdy. Even though it's plastic, whoa, even though it's plastic packaging, it feels really sturdy. And so I don't know, I guess if I had to recommend a Natasha Denona palette for you, or for anyone looking to dip their toe into her formulas, I would say look at the mini palettes and pick up whichever one strikes your fancy, whichever one you think you might get the most use out of, whether that's neutral or otherwise. I just think the mini palettes are the way to go, at least in terms of trying them, and then upon that you can decide if you think her shadow formula is worth it to purchase one of the larger palettes, because these mini palettes are 100% consistent with her larger palettes, and they will let you know if it feels like something worth investing in. So that is all I have for you today, short and sweet. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you could give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out here on the YouTube platform, and then we all get to make more friends together down in the comments. I love when you guys make suggestions like this, so thank you. You know who you are, whomever suggested this video. I had a lot of fun. I like ranking things. I think it's kind of a fun thought process, and it really kind of gets into, you know, your brain. It tickles at your brain in terms of what you like, what you should or shouldn't be buying any more of, and things like that. So let me know down below if you have any Natasha Denona palettes, and if so, which would be your numero uno. And with all of that said, I hope all of your makeup days are absolutely beautiful makeup days. I hope you're staying safe and well, and I will see you in my next video real soon.